this is something I can keep.
Oh yeah, here, this folder's yours, you stick it in there.
Okay.
This is yours. Like I said, upon request, there's a list I have domestic violence, hospital records.
Well, what I would say is anything, you be the judge. Anything you think is important for me to have.
I think it depends on the character and what you're investigating. You're investigating the town.
Right, yeah.
And to validate, and I think what I'd like you to concentrate is proving that what they did, like I said, my statements are true. I've given you the documentation showing they're true, showing my character. I'm gonna give you witness list facts tonight because I had to get permission first. I can't just give you numbers. And I did get everybody's permission, which is fantastic, so I'll type that up. And they're all reputable people. I'm gonna put their positions and what they hold for positions to show their backgrounds. These people are outstanding people in like the Bucksport Police Department and their history. And I gave you documentation. Now I'm gonna put you to the challenge and test. See who can prove this wrong and give you documentation that I did do those things that they said. And they can't.
Okay. Let me go through. This was you probably recognize this. It was a handwritten report. Okay. One is the premeditated murder for finances. That would be the insurance stuff we talked about.
I'm gonna give you. I'm actually gonna fax you tonight the slip showing the both of them.
Okay. And then the next one was child abuse by extensive inhumane interrogation for days.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's something we covered.
If you read in the police report, if you look at the date that the crime was committed and look at the date that they took my son's statement.
Yeah.
Okay, they did do interrogation that day. 3 days they gave him. 3 days to make my son say what they wanted him to say on DVD.
So you're saying they had him in custody for 3 days?
I'm saying that they came to my house, my wife here, with her permission, because she is mentally ill, and usually I took control of the kids, and I was the one who coordinated with them. I'm saying that she allowed them, because I know my son. Imagine your best friend. I didn't have many friends. My son and I played video games, played basketball. I went to his sport games. I worked 2 jobs, yet would go to his sport games and stuff too every day. He was my best friend. He really didn't respect his mother. My mother could vouch for that for living with me. My brother is one of his best friends. He actually speaks out against his mother because she's against everything that he is about. He would say bad things and collaborate their story, and they took him to the 3rd day to do it. I know police routine. They don't give it 3 days to get a statement. They get the statement immediately, otherwise it won't stick in a normal court of law. It took them 3 days of interrogating my son to get him to quote what they wanted him to quote. And from what I heard about the DVD, he was crying.
And that was in the domestic case.
That was in the criminal case. There was no domestic case.
Well, the case where they said you were having the domestic disturbance with your wife. Okay.
And a charge which everybody they could get to stick that they couldn't get to stick on me, and that shows their character right there.
Okay, and you said that illegal search and seizure, that would have been them coming in to the house.
Yes, and seizing the shotgun, and it was not photographed in its natural state. We know firearms; they have to be photographed in their natural state, right where they're at. They have to have someone licensed to go get it through the police department. No Joe Blow can go grab it, and the guy David Winchester stated in front of my mother and I, at our doorstep, that he seized the gun. And he photographed it in my basement, which I will show you after, with concrete floors. Okay. And Brett McSwain, who's the ATF, he's a great man. I'll give you his cell phone number and his office number. He will send you photographs showing it better, the flooring and stuff. But as you can see in the photograph, tile floors. No, I don't have tile floors, never have.
Okay.
You'd see it adhesive or something. They have really nasty concrete, wet floors from flooding.
Okay. And the next one, the 58248 we talked about.
That's the shotgun.
What's the grand theft?
Grand theft is when you get over a certain limit of money that was stolen. I was a tradesman, and one thing never brought up is all my tools are engraved. They were purchased for Air Force Base list. I have proof they've been through security checks. I've had probably around over 250,000 underestimating of tools, house damages, car, clothes stolen from my home by those people.
Okay. And then the vandalism is...
The condition of my house. Okay. Some things, as you can see, like above the refrigerator, were just broken to be spiteful.
Okay, and you think it's the police that did that?
I know it was them because they left their trademark beer bottle brands. Them and they're actually all friends, and I knew them before this happened.
Yeah.
It was they left their trademark Coors bottle brands and their was that Wicked Tea brand everywhere.
So
the bottle shattered against the walls. Matthew Bastome, having worked on his house and stuff, and knowing him way before this and been in his house doing work with him, that is what he drinks.
Okay,
The
so
way he
based on
teas.
the fact that those like containers
They
that,
left paraphernalia, and Jackie Burby came here when I first got released and came to my house, and Sean Deegan and David Winchester thought this was the funniest joke ever when they came to do the criminal report. When is something like this civil? You know,
okay,
because the neighbors are friends with them, they're allowed to four-wheel on my lawn, and my wife never even knew those people. They're like, she gave them permission. The house is in my name, it's always been in my power, you know, and yet nothing criminal. I mean, so people are allowed to not only vandalize and steal my house, people they know have their permission to come and vandalize, trespass, and ruin my property as well, with no repercussion, no nothing, and they never show any proof.
okay.
They say they can give you no written documentation, no audio, visual. They just say, oh yeah, so and so gave them permission, or the guns are there. Yeah, okay.
Okay. So it sounds like from what you're saying that because like seeing the brands of alcohol that you know these guys
and knowing
drink
the people,
those,
yes,
so,
and
just
yes,
sort of your,
because, I mean, look what they've done. And they came to the house. Actually, one of them, an officer Woodman, left his stamp on the door that he supposedly checked the house because what was it? Because my mom called from Idaho because of a concern. The house had broken windows, a chimney removed. It was in broken up condition, and there was no report. Yeah, the house since it's been empty, has been vandalized. They knew. Okay. Because they were here.
And then I've got falsifying reports and allowing falsification of reports by subordinates and co-conspirators.
That would be the false investigation that he supposedly did on the original complaints.
Okay.
Because we were never interviewed, and how can you have an investigation without interviewing the victims? That's the standard policy of every police. Okay. And you also can't have a report. If you notice, he falsified his reports there when he said, I saw off the shotgun. That's federal right there. Okay. I didn't saw it off. They said I didn't do it. The government's always right. It says right in the law books. And him saying I held him up in the hallway with the SKS, contrary to two witness statements, contrary to mechanical fact, that could easily be disproven. Okay. I mean, and then him hearing me from 150, probably over 100 feet away, behind a wall, what I said to my son in my house, and then I ran out invisible to everybody else and held him up again and again outside. Okay. I mean, that's falsified. And because the reports were falsified on the state level, they were then submitted to the federal government. So it was done at the federal level. Well, that would be what, double jeopardy? Mm-hmm. Technically.
Okay. And then, illegal trafficking of registered firearms?
Yes, like I said, they're not too intellectual, and usually you could get them to admit to what they do eventually by having a discourse with them. And because he won't release the firearms, in one of the conversations he said, well, your wife showed for the firearms and we didn't give them to her. And the fact that they won't release them, and then furthermore, when I was getting the registration for my shotgun, the guy who owns the gun still couldn't find the registration, and the ATF were there a week before looking for that same shotgun's registration, and they refer to it as the missing shotgun. My assumption is that the firearms are gone. They thought they gave me 10 to 13 years. I'm usually always right when I troubleshoot problems. When you do it for a living, you become good at it. Most likely they gave the firearms to her, Matthew Bastone. They sold them. They're no longer around. If you went there and said, you produce these firearms and I give you the registration with these serial numbers on them, I'd bet a serious amount of money that they're not there. Okay. And they couldn't do it. And they come up with any excuse verbally not to do it. Okay.
Federal entrapment?
Yes, when I called about the firearm being the release of firearms, trying to get them transferred actually to Pastor Sam Leonardi and my mom to go and pick them up so they're not in their possession, so they can't, more crime cannot be committed on others by them with them, and also to probably later on just to get them out of it, to prove that they don't have them. Sean Geegan tried talking to me on the phone, rang for my mom to get me. He goes, well, we'll release them. Why don't you come down here and pick them up? I'm a felon. I'm a felon. I can't have firearms. They know that. I'm on probation.